to call this meeting to order for our Bryant Parks Committee. And I'm going to turn it back over to Keith for roll call.
Jolly is absent. Curtis?
Here.
Williams?
Here.
Farmer?
Here.
Whittington is absent. Moore?
Here.
Benning?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're losing a voice.
Got his voice out, yeah.
All right. If you didn't already have over the approval of the minutes for this past month for May, did anybody see anything they needed to make note of? Motion to approve.
A second.
Okay. All right, and next up we have our club report. So it looks like Mr. Jim Anderson is here from soccer.
Yeah, I'm gonna hand those down and I'll. Thank you. Oh, here's. I don't know if that's gonna be enough.
I think we're good.
It is.
Oh, well, let me give some here to our guests as well.
Oh, yeah, no, I've got it here. This is one
Yeah.
page, this is one page.
Yeah.
This is one page.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay. All right. Thank you for putting the pictures up there. Yeah, mine's, again, Jim Anderson with Central Arkansas Soccer Club. I've been the club president for, since January 1st of this year. And then for the 2 years prior to that, I was on the registrar. Been in and out of soccer because I had some older kids playing, over 10 years ago, and then they were done. And then my youngest decided it was okay to play since she didn't have to play with boys. You know, they got old enough she could just do the girls side of it. So I got back into it. It's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of growth and various blessings and challenges that come with that. And so on this handout, I just basically want to step you through. Won't read the whole thing, but we are, you know, I know there's been some turnover and then a few others here that don't know much about us. So just to introduce us, that we are a nonprofit 501c3 that's just serving youth soccer. And there are 3 levels of soccer, the academy being the youngest group, up to about 8-year-olds. And then recreational is everybody that's older than that wants to play the non-competitive league. And of course, it's still a game, it's still competitive, but it's not as intense and not as time consuming, it's not as expensive for the families, the recreational league. That's actually our biggest group. We currently have about 350 in recreational, in academy, and 200 in classic, rounded numbers there. So classic is the competitive soccer league, where they are traveling more around the state, still have some home games, but then they'll go to, you know, Memphis or Tulsa or Shreveport, Springfield, a few tournaments this season as well. So those are the basic 3 levels, academy, recreational, and classic. Bryant Soccer Club up until roughly 10 years ago. So the club itself has been going since 1994. We just had a big 30-year anniversary celebration last fall. And, you know, we bring in, there's about, we've recently collected some information, about 2/3 of our youth do go to Bryant schools. So, you know, but just like some of the other sports here, there's definitely people that come from afar. I mean, we have people come from as far as Hot Springs. Somebody from Warren just signed up. You know, we have people coming here as well. So that's the name Central Arkansas Soccer Club years ago. The change there to recognize that there's more than just Bryant kids here. So yeah, so we're not a corporate club. They're still under the history there. Midland Soccer Complex is our home base. Has been since 2007, maybe. Does that sound about right?
I believe that's right, yeah.
Okay.
07, 08, sometimes when they built that, yeah.
Plaque there in the there at the clubhouse that talks about that. So we're not a corporate club. We have a board though, you know, a few unpaid people at the top, and then the others are just kind of like a minimal monthly payment just for some services and such. So a lot of the other big clubs here in Arkansas, most of them in fact have, you know, 1 or 2 full-time employees. And so I think we're unique. There's not many like us as far as the bigger clubs. You know, we're one of the bigger, you know, medium clubs here in the state. Couple things just about this past year, this last fall, just a couple highlights. I mean, some of these were brought out in pictures. That's not my favorite picture right there. You know, there's various titles at different tournaments, and it's getting tougher, you know, to compete with some of the other growing clubs. It's just the nature of it. So I'm not going to highlight all the successes that surrounding tournaments, you know, the different tournaments they've been to, but the state cup is kind of the biggest thing for the class. They compete, the competitive teams. So last fall we did have a championship team, U17 girls, the state cup, and then a U19 boys went to the championship. I already mentioned the 30-year celebration. We do a pink out night every fall in October. A couple nights, a big, I think one of those are up here, out night for breast cancer awareness. This spring we had some great success, as we always do, with several of these recreational teams at the local tournament at Burns Park that did really well, and also finished, like, you know, first in their divisions. So kind of give them some recognition to a few of the coaches there, Coach Clanton, Overman, Coach Mahia. We have some coaches that, you know, the recreational level, they're not paid, but they come back season after season, usually with their own, you know, child on the team, but some who don't, you know, just keep serving and have great success. So the Coach Keene and the U11 girls did go to the state championship, lost by a point in that game. So the 2 teams that won, or that went to those championship games in the fall, and then one other one, all have the opportunity to go to Dallas, actually in 3 days. And I'm going because my daughter's on one of those teams. I don't know, Mr. Tony, if you're heading down there as well. Yeah, so it's a Southern Regional President's Cup, it's called. So there's 3 teams going down. We're pretty excited about that. I don't know that we've had 3 teams going at the same time before. So that's a pretty big deal for us. It starts Friday morning, and in Texas Heat, Dallas Heat will be early games, Friday, Saturdays, and those you keep playing Monday, Tuesday. So that's it's going to be great. Shout out to our sponsors and partners, Everett, UGMC, just like they do with quite a few other organizations here in town. You know, it's on our shirts, as you see there, some of the close-ups on our shirts, so that helps us discount the uniforms a bit for every player, and also use, you know, some money for some extra equipment. Puma is, you know, we're large enough that we were able to enter into an agreement with Puma, and so we're using them for uniforms the next few years. Soccer Post is our vendor for that. So Puma's given us some things to decorate the fields a little bit, you know, on game day and at tournaments. And last but not least, City of Parks Department is a huge partner and has been for a long time. So I repeat this to Dale and sometimes Matt, but I literally it's almost every weekend I'm out there. If I'm there, I'm not there all weekend, but going to watch my niece or watching just whatever, and my kids' game, and somebody's just commenting on the fields. You know, probably until City of Conway just dumped a ton of, I don't know how much, into some new soccer complex, we could say that we have the nicest fields in Central Arkansas. And I've been to one big complex in Northwest Arkansas, and ours beats that one as well. So yeah, really appreciate the partnership, appreciate the staff. I've met some of the, you know, gone by and I'd be able to meet some of the guys working there. Just really appreciate how well we're taken care of. And, you know, sometimes you have special needs and you know, just a text or, you know, and a couple of days later and it's done. So thank you so much. On the flip side, just wanted to point out a little bit of the growth here. These numbers are kind of a blended number in a way, because in the spring, in the fall, the numbers drop off a little bit for the little kids. We do have more that play in the spring than the fall, and then in the spring, kids playing. So, but they're still considered club members. So really counting those high school players, some of them that don't actually play in the spring, look at the numbers there. For the last 4 years, we're jumping up every season in our numbers, and we don't turn anybody away by registration deadlines, but we do have to turn away some people who come in late, a few at the end, because we can't add any more teams at that point, and we can't add any more players. I mean, we're filling up, and so with that, is the practice space challenges that you have to get more and more creative on allocating space. Now, this is at Midland, and we don't want to wear out every last inch there as well, but we do, we have to get creative. Some teams do practice on Wednesday nights, Friday nights. Thankfully, we got Bishop Park, the backfield here. Is that field 8? Used to be
E1 and E2.
Oh, sorry. So that backfield is great for some of the larger groups of boys. A couple teams that all want to play together, practice together. They can have a huge amount of space back there on a couple weeknights. Only challenge with that is certain point in the year the daylight starts running out, and so if they want to practice later, they'll have a problem. But that's been really nice for some of those big groups of older boys, older recreational teams to go out there. So we appreciate that. And then City Bryant Schools is letting us use some of those fields behind Collegeville Elementary again. So we have some of our younger kids that can go out there on certain nights of the week, and then it just makes it all work out at Midland right now. So, for the long term for us as we continue to grow, that's our little Strikers program, started up a year and a half ago or so, big inflatable pitch. So long term, I mean, we're kind of, it's hard to predict the population and hard to predict everybody's interests. But I think one thing's evident is that soccer is a growing sport, and so we're excited about that. Maybe we're leveling off in membership. It's hard to say, but it might be that that's kind of a good thing right now, that maybe we're kind of hitting our caps because there's only so much space. And we don't want to tear it up. So, but coming with that, though, not having any full-time employees, there's just a lot of administrative issues that come up. So we need to add more volunteers, managing more coaches, helping those coaches be successful as possible. There's just different needs, frankly, we have a really good group of people on the board of directors, but I know they can't all stay there forever. So we're always looking for more volunteers. Anybody that wants to get together in a room with a group of a dozen people once a month and help us out a little bit, we would appreciate that. I know the long-term is the long-term plan. I've seen the plans, down the road. I think that those plans even say maybe a larger pond here back in the back of Bishop. So, we're not planning on that long-term. And at one point we wondered, did we help pay for some lights back there? But I don't think that makes sense with a pond wanting to be there in the future.
Yeah.
So, we don't host tournaments at all. I know baseball is able to host tournaments, but, long term, it seems like that's something that could attract more people to the area, get enough space. Could even start out with some of the little kids tournaments, the 9 and 10-year-olds, preseason tournaments or something like that. As you get more and more space, you can then think about hosting some of the bigger tournaments that bring quite a lot of people to town from, these surrounding states. So just like we do on some of those. And then long-term as well, additional partnerships, we're always looking to for other possibilities. We have talked to Summerwood in the past, and they're busy on their current buildings there, but I think they own some land by Midland, and so there's a possibility. We have to wonder about the possibility of an indoor complex right next to Midland. that could help us out in, you know, inclement weather, things like that. So, any questions or anything else you guys would like me to cover?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate on the master plan drawing. So, yes, the master plan for Bishop Park does call for expansion of the pond in the back, which would take out those 2 fields at the very back of this park that Jim was talking about. However, it was understood in that we would not remove those fields until Midland Park was fully expanded. You know, that there was no way we could take away the 2 fields that we have here at Bishop. And the reason for the larger pond was flood mitigation for Bishop Park. But that those fields are not just used by Central Arkansas Soccer, other groups as well, but with their practice, their space limitations, there was no way that we could feasibly take those 2 pads away back there until we could, because the full Midland expansion plan is to double the amount of space there for, I mean, we're at 4 pads right now, is to expand that to 8 pads. And so, so it is understood. If you look at it, I was concerned there'd be people go, whoa, hold on now, that pond's taking out those 2 fields.
Oh, yeah.
That would never happen until Midland was fully expanded. Yes. And so the first step in that would be to start the expansion of Midland Park, before we ever did anything here on that.
And what was the acreage? I mean, what was the?
So we bought, in 2016, the 40 acres east of Midland Park. So when we went out there and toured the parks, it's the woods that are on the far side of Midland. And so there's a creek to the left there. And so I wish if I'd have known, I could have put the design up on, but right now it's 4 pads, Midland's 4 pads, which are the 4 expansion are going to be 4 pads that are on the north side of the property that will run in a row furthest from the creek, because it's some pretty severe flooding that takes place on the south side of Midland Park as well. You don't have the dirt like we have out here, so it runs off, and we have some debris clean up, and between working with the volunteers to help with that, we get it cleaned up, and then they go back to playing. But yeah, so that's the full design for the Midland Park expansion. So,
Mr. Jim, I guess that would give you the capacity to maybe host tournaments and things of that nature at that point.
Yeah. It certainly would be. Everybody knows it's down the road, and if there's anything that we can do to, help make something happen sooner, some kind of expansion, we'd be totally in favor of that and totally willing to help. There's a lot of, over 800 kids coming and a lot of families.
I mean, I see all the partners' numbers, including our rec numbers. We've talked a lot in here of our struggle with our basketball league and our space. They are really looking at, they're really in the same boat with us. I mean, like, we are very, very much constrained by space. And so, but that does, that Midland Park, the estimate for that full Midland Park expansion was $11 million. So, now that was 4 pads, another parking area, a playground, some trails, which I think we've got a grant on design for some trails up there already. So, that was the full expansion project. But I think that's also something that could be looked into phasing. I mean, we've talked about how it would help them if we were able to just start the expansion of some of the soccer fields first and growing those. But it's still a hefty price tag. I mean, you are still in the millions just to start that clearing and dirt work and that kind of stuff. So, it comes back to the same stuff we talked about last month with lacrosse. I mean, it's the demand for a capital funding source that we currently don't have. So,
Mr. Jim, one other thing. I know it wouldn't be suitable for tournaments, I don't think necessarily, but have you talked about using that facility?
We don't. Because we don't. You mean the high school field?
Right.
Yeah, we don't want to gets into a lot of, I think, more red tape and getting permission for things. I mean,
Well, and then they've got two soccer teams and football sharing that field too.
Yeah.
I mean, in
I was
the
like, during
spring,
the off
you know,
season,
and even in the
It
fall.
ain't no- it's not
That
all
would be
season,
kind
really,
of, yeah,
How
exactly.
about that? So the high school uses
They do.
the stadium.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
For their
soccer and football share
yeah,
it.
I will say though, when you had one of those semi-rainy weeks, I mean, obviously if it's flood, I mean, everything's closed, but I mean, we've had times where we find out about, Burns Park being closed, Maumelle Field's closed, a handful of fields closed, and they're calling us thinking, we got opponents coming, calling us saying, hey, are you canceled? And we said, no, we're open.
Yeah.
Because our fields drain really well. Most of the space out there drains really well. So I'm talking, one of those Friday night storms that rolled through kind of fast and it, didn't dump 2 inches of rain or something overnight, but other fields end up closing, other complexes, and ours is still open. We have someone go check it out at 7 a.m. and, it's pretty much fine. So,
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the flood that came through, which came through on a Saturday this year, the bad flood that we had, I think y'all were out there playing on Monday that week. I mean, I think y'all were out there, a day or two after.
Monday night or
It was soon. It was soon after that it was already dried out and y'all were back.
Avoid the areas by the creek.
Yeah.
That's where the debris was.
Yeah, the debris wasn't fully cleaned up yet, but the fields were okay. Yeah.
But we had people out there just a couple days later. So we check it carefully because it's in our interest and the city's interest for us to not go out and use an area that's sopping wet for kids' safety as well. But that's why, but we thought about in times, if you had something big going on, would we be able to go to the high school? But generally, we don't have the need because the fields drain fairly well.
And like Mr. Nate was saying, that availability probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, high school, I think football takes kind of.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they still do spring football.
It's a short window, but they practicing now.
Which they do have junior high, but I don't know that it's set up
That
to do
field's
soccer
not
even.
necessarily, that field's not in good
Yeah.
condition.
They
Somebody
do
get
work.
hurt quick.
So I have a question. This 829 number, is that y'all's all-time high on participants, or did y'all have higher numbers before COVID?
As far as I know, that's an all-time high.
I've been keeping up with it since 18. With the exception of COVID, theirs has gone up every single year since I've been here. With the obviously we all saw a dip in COVID. Basketball is the only now, and basketball we saw a dip 2 years ago, which we've talked about where we strategically limited our league because we ran out of space.
Yeah.
And so our basketball league saw 2 dips, but yeah, theirs has climbed every single year.
The follow-up question is, so you said that you try to not turn people away unless you just have a full-out team.
Mm.
Do y'all have kind of a guesstimate on how many on the players y'all could have, as long as you get pretty a heads up enough notice? Like, is there kind of an idea, like, are y'all hitting that cap, or are you like, oh, we had 10 teams this season, but we have the capacity of actually having 15, or you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Honestly, it feels like we're almost there. Like, we recreational teams, we end up with like 24 teams.
Okay.
And then the competitive teams, there's about 10 of those. And then just this last season on the little kids, they fill up one of these 4 big pads, 8 little fields, and we actually had them all. They almost planned it. These kids, the numbers were perfect. We had the perfect number of kids to use each one of those for 2 hours straight on Saturday mornings, which is also first as far as I know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just so it does feel like we're just about at capacity. Yeah.
And I showed you guys whenever we went out there this past winter, the streets department, we went and demoed that old building that used to be there to put some gravel in for some additional parking to try to help out with their parking issues at Midland. The goal was, because that's a floodway, we cannot raise any elevation at all. So they have the 4 pads, but they have a few other common areas out there that I think just sit a little bit low, so they stay wet a little bit more. So our goal was, we're going to lower this area where we're going to demo this old building. And as long as the net, it's a net zero, you can lower one area and put it in another. We were really hoping to be able to try to raise up some of the common areas to give them like some smaller pads that they could use for their littles. Unfortunately, once we got into that dirt, it was like gravel and not usable at all. So, ultimately, like our goal was to try to, there's a long term, there's a major, undertaking that's needed for expansion. We're just trying to, in the short term, figure out, okay, how can we give them a little bit more space in the short term because we know that they're, reaching their capacity.
And just to go back to your question too, like, a lot of it is just kind of a logistic thing as well, that you need enough people to, so then you can kind of figure out how many coaches to line up. And then you get a slew of people that always register late. And at that point, your teams are formed. So you kind of shoot for what you're supposed to have. And so just a better answer as well. I mean, if we got super desperate, we'd get more people out here to Bishop Park. If we added more teams, we'd check with you to see if there's more.
That's what I was going to say. The space constraints in soccer versus the basketball. Like for a basketball court, when one team practices on another team, it's not really hurting it per se. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you get any more numbers than, too many more numbers than what you got, and we're having kids, they're all in the same spots, and they are natural grass fields. And that is, from the city side, that's one of the things where we're like, you guys have got to move over, you got to have something left to play on. So even if you had the length of day, to squeeze in more practices, the constraint of the field itself could be a limiting factor there as well.
Is there like a, I know some of the, field we've seen like up in, what was that, Tulsa? I guess it's like a low grade turf kind of sort of.
Like one turf field.
Yeah.
And then
So a lot of, some of those have had, they kind of, I don't know what the numbers are on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't either. Part of the situation with turf for us here as well as Midland has been, what does that flooding?
Yeah.
And I have talked to people that are way smarter than me on this, that are turf experts, that say flood plains are not a problem with turf. The water rises and the water lowers. But here and at Midland, it's not a flood plain, it's a floodway. And that turns into a river when it floods. And so, and so the concern is, and I've never gotten a good answer, but I've heard from turf people going, I'm not going to warranty anything on that. And so, so you want me to put millions of dollars into it, it's not going to be warranted. But, and so that's and we're constantly, and they're always upgrading, they're always making advances, but that becomes the question. So even at Midland, like, is there a scenario where you could turf the north side and not the south side? Maybe. I know with baseball, that becomes a concern of if we turf one field and not another. Well, now we're keeping twice the amount of equipment because the way we maintain this is this way, and the main way we maintain this field is this way, so, but I do know the floodway is the concern because the way that water rushes across it becomes a concern with what's that going to do to the turf when it rushes across it. So. But that's always something that we're constantly talking to and trying more on. So
I guess my next thing was going to be, is there anything going on, with the city in that area that we could probably partner with, if we kind of lead over into something else, I guess, to kind of get that, going, a little faster, like Mills Park or something like that. Like,
so as far as the land adjacent there, the expansion goes?
I mean, like, is there anything, like any projects, like
more usable land?
Yeah.
Like, what about that park we have on the list that is just
Plum Park? Yeah. Plum Park, maybe. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah.
We just Plum don't want to do it. Have you?
Yeah.
So you figure more practice area. Well, then too, like, how we had like, is there any construction or like with any water lines or any kind of sewer things going in that area that we could kind of, hey, can we
But like as far as the clearing and stuff, 'cause they cleared some of those.
Without,
They cleared some of those trees for us whenever they ran the line through there. Yeah.
How many people have driven all the way to back here to Bishop Park, but just
I
back
have.
here. And
Big
there's
field.
a lot of space.
It's a big field back, yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
space.
it's
So
really big.
the only issue you run into then is the lighting.
Yeah. And that,
So the teams that want to practice 6:30, 7:30, that they lose that daylight. And then some people tell you there's a little bit of goose poop out there. So.
well, you're gonna have that at Bishop Park. That's gonna happen. But and I will tell you, even though I do believe that it's probably $500,000 in lights. I've never quoted that back there, but that's not the only problem. There's no power back there. So you would also have to get, and we've talked, let's see, Matt help me, this is First Electric here. Yeah. This is First Electric, and there's no, like, you've got to get power past that creek and that pond to get it back there. And so there's not an easy way to really get power back there to it. So we're talking about something that long-term plan is a flood mitigation extension of a pond that short-term we're going to invest in dollars. And that just doesn't seem like a good investment if that's not it would be better to put $1 million into Midland expansion than trying to do that. You know, to me, if I had $1 million, which I don't have, but you know, if I had that, I would rather let's start investing that into our long-term Midland Park expansion, not a short-term fix here. So, but I do know the lights. I mean, Central Arkansas Soccer has rented portable lights for a long time that back there to help with that. So, you know, I mean, it's sometimes a year that's hard when we don't have. I mean, it's only been a few years and only half of Midland was lit. So
yeah, so we're not complaining.
Yeah,
Help us double those lights in Midland also.
And that expansion plan does include lighting.
oh yeah, it would be that
And a bathroom.
and another bathroom. Yes, another bathroom.
Can you imagine being on the backside of the
Trying to make it up to that other bathroom. Yeah.
That's a long way.
Yeah, that would be.
Listen, we hear about it because of A complex here. That would be 5 times the length of So anything else for Jim?
Good job.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Even though I see you all weekend, but.
Well, the slideshow's gone, but this man's got a goalie on one of those pictures.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
she looks just like him. Pretty easy. Oh, that's pretty easy to pick up.
Well, thank you.
That's definitely who I work for, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think we all do. So now we're to director's report.
Yeah, you have the director's report summary there for you. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all this stuff. I did try better this month to put it in chronological order.
When I was reading through it, I was like, oh, okay,
I did. I tried to put it in better chronological order this month. And so one thing I will give you an update on about midway down the front page. The splash pad, we had some mechanical issues that it tested fine. It was ready to go. And about the week of time for the splash pad to open, all of a sudden, none of the toys would work. So, I mean, we had already hooked it all up for the year and everything. That issue has been solved. It was a crack or a bust in the water line underground that was not allowing the toys to prime and function properly. That's been solved at this point. Health department came out yesterday, I think, and inspected it, and it's ready to go. It is currently closed at this moment because the HVAC system in the bathhouse, which we approved a couple of months ago, has finally got here today. And so as soon as the splash pad is ready to open, they're replacing the HVAC, and all that equipment is sitting on the splash pad right now. So that's, Matt, I think that's supposed to be done tomorrow. Is that right?
Yes, they finish up the inside unit today, and they're hoping to have the air going in there tomorrow.
So it's hot in that bathhouse right now. So
we've got some splash pad parties for this weekend.
So the splash pad's ready to open by the end of the week as soon as the HVAC equipment is off of the splash pad. So
I know, that's what I'm saying, you're gonna have to disappoint those mamas.
And I have to ask Lynn, have you checked out the new equipment in the weight room yet?
I haven't, that's shame on me, but
You
I'll
got
be going
to
in
check
there.
that out.
Yeah.
Okay, we got some new, we
Yeah.
got some new equipment
Yeah,
for you.
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
I saw something down here, to
Yeah.
that effect too, I
Yeah.
was looking at that, yeah.
so I think it's been popular. Ebony said that it's been very popular so far.
Good.
So
I'll be checking it out real cool.
Yeah, it looks like y'all been pretty busy.
it's very busy.
And you have been getting, look like some hoop play or whatever, some tournament.
Yeah, we've had, I mean, you can see, we've had baseball, softball, and basketball tournaments. We're starting to the end. I think we've got a couple more weekends of baseball and softball tournaments, but it's starting to get to the end. But you know how, I mean, once we wrap up with those, we basically run basketball tournaments the rest of the summer. So we'll see it transition a little bit more to basketball tournaments the rest of the year, or the rest of the summer. So, yeah, and some of our, I know that we've got an archery league, I think, that's going on right now.
Hey, right here now,
Yeah.
somebody's right there
When I
practicing
pulled
or
in
something
over there, I
right
was
there,
like,
yeah.
Where's
Yeah.
that come from?
I saw that,
There's all these
oh, so
archery
that
stuff.
does belong to the park?
That's yes.
Oh, I thought that was
Oh,
a family that was set up
No,
over
no.
there. Okay.
I mean, they have
No.
like 5.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
No, that's our new archery league. Yeah, so
Cool.
yeah, so
There's a lot going on during the
Yeah.
weekend.
so
That's all
Not
right.
just baseball anymore.
That's right.
Yeah. A little bit more.
any questions or anything over?
We'll talk about that after the meeting.
Anyone else you good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good for
Okay.
me.
Any public comment? Anyone? No? Just
I'll
saying.
make one comment.
Okay.
I have been playing a lot of pickleball over there, and it's been very fun. Hunter is amazing. He's done a great job.
Good.
Shout out for Hunter. Yeah,
There you go. Be sure and tell
I will.
Master of ideas.
them. Yeah. All right. Any old business anybody needs to discuss?
He's not here. I mean, Hunter is not here, but I was just wondering, has it, we talked a little bit last time about enrollment and stuff. I wonder, has it picked up any, since last month?
Yeah.
I know it's newer.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge too when you're starting new things.
Yeah.
But I know our archery is it has made, and we've got pretty good numbers for that. Pickleball makes. I mean, it's pickleball. All the pickleball stuff makes. Yeah. So
They were dragging, people were walking up with chairs and everything when I came by.
Yeah.
just a little bit ago.
So, I know our adult
Town was over there.
our adult kickball didn't make.
Yeah. That's the one I was a little bit interested in. And
Yeah.
I was trying to even think about putting a team together, but I didn't.
And we'll try it again. I think it's just, we did adult kickball years ago. And I will tell you, like, Little Rock has a very competitive adult kickball league. And what happened is you have local group that wants to get together and put a team together, and we're going to have fun. And then this dang competitive team comes in and beats the brakes off of you. Like, it's not very fun, And so, So,
Exactly.
Like, okay.
so,
Yeah.
but in order to have separate divisions to keep it fun and competitive, you have to have the numbers to do
That's
that.
true,
And
too.
so, so this time we tried to keep it away from the really competitive so that we could keep it as a fun but then you don't have the numbers to make a league work. So I think you end up with 3 teams, and one of them was our department.
Yeah.
So I don't think we had one of them was our department putting a team together just to try to get it to make, and it still didn't. And so, and I don't think adult dodgeball made either. I think both of those. So, so the adult.
I wondered about that. It's like, oh.
Thought it would been a whole nother set of code of conduct.
No, that's where you let them get it out. I said they get it out.
I didn't have an interest in that one.
That's still open right now, I think, for registration. But so yes, I think I don't think we've closed that yet. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully that does pick up. I think that's in the upstairs rooms. Yeah.
Okay. New business?
Over to Rebecca's got the first 2 items here on new business. So we'll let her. While I believe this is actually for the second grant that she's going to talk about. So, but I'll take one of these and pass it around. But like I said, that'll be for number 5 on the agenda.
So number 4, this is the Energy Savings Performance Contracting Grant. This is through MetroPlan. This grant is split into 2 phases. So we currently have only done phase 1. So what this grant does is, we are trying to do building efficiency upgrades. So this is a 50/50 grant. Phase 1 was pretty much just deciding what projects we wanted to apply for. So with Matt and Dale's help, we came up with the 7 split system HVAC unit at Bishop, and then upgrading the remainder of the lights to LED at Bishop. So that's phase 1. So we turned that in. Phase 2 is we will have a meeting with MetroPlan, and then we are going to hire a company to come in and audit everything at Bishop, pretty much. Once we get those prices back, then we'll sit down and talk about which projects we want to do, all 7 HVAC units and LED, just HVAC units, and go from there. So then we'll know a price. So then we'll finish the actual application. We'll take it to council, and then we'll submit it.
So
This is kind of information only about what we're working on for that.
what's your timeline on that one? Like, when is it, does it have
So phase 1 was due, I believe at the end of May, and so right now we're just waiting for MetroPlan.
gotcha.
And there's no cap, and I may be using the wrong term, but you said 50/50, so whatever we do, they're gonna match whatever it is.
They have not really given us a cap, but they're
Okay.
saying, I believe, they've written that down.
No, I mean, I
Things
was
that
curious.
they are saying 200 or 250,000, would be the max, yeah.
So, and just to explain a little bit of what, so the 7 HVAC units, there are 8 HVAC units, split system units that we have. One of them is the one that we are currently replacing right now at the bathhouse. And for our long maintenance plan, all of those units are the same age. They all are from the original build of this building. So one of them went out this year. The other 7 are not far. So when we're looking for a grant to replace these with energy saving ones, this is not necessarily like, oh, this is something we wouldn't have to do otherwise. If we don't replace these, we're still going to be at the mercy of, well, this one went out next year, and I think that price tag on the one we just replaced is $33,000. So it is going to be, okay, it went out, I'm coming and asking for approval we just lost air conditioning in part of our building. So this is an opportunity as well for us to actually get a 50/50 match on something that unfortunately we're going to have to do when they go out, So correct me, is that correct, Matt? Yeah. So,
So in the big scheme of things, long term, we're pretty much, you're saying that eventually we'll have to replace these anyway, and this is just a great way for us to get 50%.
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we had talked about with, Joy, we had talked about we're going to budget to replace one every year, not knowing which one that's gonna be, and it may be, 2 1 year kind of thing, so.
Gotcha.
But yes, when this one went out, it's fortunately, this building is reaching the age that you start having to replace a lot of things on it. And so yes, when Rebecca brought this to us as an opportunity, immediately we said, oh, wow, this could be something we're gonna have to replace anyway. And it is an upgrade as well. I mean, it is replacing them with energy efficient systems. So
Do we need to do a vote on that?
yes, I think this will go to council this month, correct? Or so,
This one will not, we'll have to wait until phase 2, so it'll be
Okay.
after the audit and all of that. So
Okay.
I can bring it back once we have
okay.
the specific projects and process. I just kind of wanted to let y'all know what we were
Gotcha.
working on.
So in that case, I think that we don't have to vote on it. Yeah, just as long as everybody's on board with us continuing to be informed of it and continuing to move forward with it. So.
Okay, the next one is the Arkansas Community Assistance Grant. It is with Arkansas Arkansas Economic Development Council. This is an 80-20 grant. We are actually going to, we would like to submit 2 applications for this. So the first application would be the Lights at Bishop again. That's where that map comes into play. We applied for this project last year and we did not get it. We applied for this project at the beginning of this year and we still have not heard if we grant. But I feel like this grant, we have a better, chance. We have a better chance of.
Our odds are better.
With, this project. So everything is still the same. The full project is right under 300,000. Our 20% would be right under 6,000.
So this would be the same grant that we brought a few months back. And it would be, basically we're asking for approval to apply for another grant for this. And Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should hear about this one actually before we hear about the one. So this one's a shorter timeline for getting an answer on than even the one we applied for a few months ago. So for us, it was, do we miss an opportunity here because we're still waiting to hear on another one that is probably more competitive and less likely. So, you know, we felt like it was best to go ahead and bring this again. So it would be the exact same ask that we brought. And if we got this one, we would just pull our application on the other one. So obviously we couldn't do it twice. So yeah. So if we were to apply right now, basically you're just being asked a different grant name, but the same exact application as before, we would just pull that application.
Mine was the other one, 80-20 also.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. So the money and everything would be the exact same. Yeah. I guess we did get a new quote, and the quote was the exact same as the previous one. Yeah. So yeah. But I would like to have a just vote on this for.
One more final question on there. I know that there was a differences in the lights. This going to cover the lights, the new type of lights that we're trying to go towards. I know you said there were 2 different types of lights at one point.
Yeah, this would all be LED. I think what you're talking about is the field lighting, which actually I'm glad you brought up because I needed to be pumped. I need the brakes pumped there because I forgot. I cut off your other part of your. But I think I've got it as one item on the agenda. So if they want to not approve one, we can always create a second item. But because for this item, we're actually we're asking to submit 2 different applications.
So application here at Bishop Court. And
application 2.
And then application 2 would be field lights at the lacrosse and softball fields at Alcoa 40.
Yes.
So that would be that.
And that would be the LED, like I said, Ashley Park. What's that? The dark sky. So it doesn't bleed out into the.
Raise my question. Since we already have lights here, they're limited compared to what we're expanding. Well, I thought at one point we were concerned that they would be 2 different types of lights, or am I incorrect on that?
You are correct. We have upgraded these.
Okay, so they have been upgraded. Yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure if that had been done yet. Okay.
Yeah, you are. Yes, sorry. Yes, you are correct on that.
Okay.
These First Electric did these. Yes, they've upgraded these.
So those are all LED.
Those are all LED.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Unfortunately, all of our meetings are in the daytime now, so you can't see them. But next winter, you'll notice.
In the winter,
you'll notice the difference.
November, we'll notice.
Yeah.
Now I just got confused, I guess, on the application B or whatever. But you said something about if we got heard from the first grant.
No, that's the 4th grant.
That's
the grant that's already out there.
Okay, that's totally different.
I was tracking 2.
Gotcha.
So I'm
Okay.
coming.
Gotcha.
So there's
Okay.
one grant
Okay.
we're waiting to hear back on.
Yes, that's
But
not
then
on here.
Okay,
number
that's
4, you're applying for 2 different grants.
Number 5.
Number
Five.
five has 2 different
Five.
grants.
I take responsibility.
I got that
Number
part.
4 is like 8
Yeah.
4, 5 is the light.
Okay, and it's in 2 different parts.
Yes.
Yeah.
2
And
different
this was not
applications,
broken
2
down
different
into A
parts.
and B.
Yeah.
2 applications. It's
Gotcha.
all the same grant, just
Okay.
applications.
I think
So
we're
yeah,
both on.
so
We are now. I'm
Correct
good now.
now.
Yeah. And it's because we're talking
I got
about
all-
approved 2 grants to the same department?
Yeah. So, for that second application for the lacrosse and softball field lighting, the total we are looking at is $530,000 plus demolition costs.
Nice.
So our 20% would be $106,000.
Yeah.
So we're 20.
And I thought, we were 80 at first. Yeah, I thought we were 80 at first.
But now that first one was 50/50.
50/50.
Number
That-
4 is 50/50.
And you say you think it's more competitive? Did I misunderstand that?
The
That
one
was-
that we're waiting to hear from.
Which was also 80/20. Okay, I got you.
You had said our cost for the 20% would be like about 106, but plus demolition.
Plus demolition, but
We're-
also
Extra,
this 530 for, the field lighting, that is on the higher.
Yeah.
I took
Okay.
And-
the high prices.
The reason it's not included in that is, we would, if they are willing, we would look to hire the streets department to handle our demolition for us. We do pay the streets department for that work, but they do it on a discounted rate of what we would pay someone else, so.
They did it for us in Ashley Park when we redid the lights over.
Yeah.
They took
So-
down the old pole.
So that is why that would be plus demolition. So more than likely, that number would be a little bit lower once we got a real, not a lot lower, still $500,000, but it would probably be a little bit lower than what she said, but we would get streets to do our demolition, so.
Clarification on what she said. Is the number that you put out there, is that only on the fields on the 20%? What is the number what's the estimated number for the parking lot? 20%?
that's for the whole project.
Or is it for both A and B together, 20%?
So I think
I can
It was like
so-
60,000 for the.
Yeah,
the
so
cost
the-
for the first
Mhm.
part,
yeah,
and then
I-
106 for the.
we talked about it. I probably did this wrong. I should have done two different items. So with number 5, the community assistance, we are applying for 2 different grants. They are fully independent of one another. One of them is for the parking lot lighting here, which would be, our portion would be 62,000, I believe. 60,000, yeah, so somewhere around that. That is the same thing we requested a few months ago. Where the second portion of that would be, that we have not applied for any grants on, would be the field lighting for 2 softball fields and the lacrosse field at Alcoa, which our portion would be a little over 100,000. If we were to get both grants, which would be best case scenario, we could light the all of Bishop Park and the fields at Alcoa. Our total on the hook for the city would be 160 something thousand. So
Again, another clarification. So why is the field one more expensive? Is it a different type of light? Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. It is. I mean, like field lighting's expensive. I mean, it is.
It's controls and
Yeah.
it's gonna have the whole Musco control system and,
Gotcha.
everything that we do with all of our other lights, where you can schedule it, whereas the others would just be, parking lot lights.
Yeah.
Off on.
Yeah.
So.
Flip a switch.
Yeah, and both,
Into
and
your phone.
yeah, and obviously you guys are very aware that the parking lot lighting at Bishop's been top priority now for a while. But as far as the master plan goes, lacrosse was here last month. We've talked a lot about Alcoa being that next part that needs. I mean, Alcoa was supposed to get the same Ashley upgrade 5 years ago, and then COVID hit, and it hasn't happened since then. So, when Rebecca came and said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity for an 80/20 grant," I mean, that's a $500,000 in lights that if we can get it for 100,000, it's on the agenda to be pursued in the next few years anyway. And as far as funding goes for it, there is, Mayor Treat is working towards a bucket system with our savings where there will be designated, allocated amounts in the savings to match grants so that we are not ever in the boat where we're going, well, sorry, we can't take this free money because we don't have
Our money.
we don't have the,
We don't have the 20.
we don't have,
Thanks for the 80,
yeah, so,
Yeah.
Thanks for the 80.
One more question, then I'll make a motion. None of this contradicts the strategic plan for parks.
no, everything's in there.
I make a motion that we approve both both grants that are presented on both the lighting of the parking lot as well as the field lighting.
I'll second that.
Yeah. And we're only doing number 5.
Only no, this is number 5. Yeah.
Okay.
For
so
both
we'll
Number
go
4
to-
didn't need.
we have the motion and a second, and,
A and B.
and all.
Aye.
Okay. And I will keep that as
Any
one item.
opposed? Sorry, you cut me off. I mean, you're trying to move
I heard
on,
everybody.
weren't you?
I know. Hey, listen, I heard I was rolling.
You're like,
no.
damn it. But 4, we're tabling
Yeah,
until.
That was information.
Come
There's
back.
some other things,
Yeah.
Yeah, wait
All right.
audit and all that.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. And I will keep that as one item since the motion was for both together. So,
It's about a request to change from July.
about July.
Okay, all right.
happens.
all right. So thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, good
Sorry,
job, good job.
Sorry, I made that more complicated. So number 6, as some of you've seen, I try to every month have a group that comes in and presents, whether it's me or someone from the Parks Department or an outside group. So for July, the Bryant Historical Society is going to present. And they have requested that we host the meeting in the Bryant Museum for that night. By City Hall, yes. And so,
The one that nobody can ever get in, but it's great.
and so, the only way to do that is we do need to make a motion to
Move it.
move the meeting, yes.
Do we have to suspend our bylaws to do that?
Yes, it would be suspending the bylaws to move the meeting for one agenda.
What is that percentage? Isn't that take a higher percentage than simple majority?
That's a great question. I think that,
Did it 2/3?
I would, historically, it goes 2/3, or I've also seen it where it goes to a 9/10 vote.
yeah, ours is not, I know I've read them, they're not 9/10 on anything. I wanted to say ours was, it may be 2/3 for that.
Start bringing copy bylaws.
Which that's a great, I'm glad, I had not, I'll have to go back and look at it.
Don't have time.
So
We
that
want
was,
to entertain the motion.
Well,
and then-
we have,
The whole thing though is that rather than them come to us, they would like for us to come.
they would like for the,
So
they,
we can see.
Right,
And
okay.
see what we're supporting.
and so they have said they will open it at 5:00 that day for anyone that wants to come in early and tour it. And I've checked, like we probably won't have the big screen there, but we can still record the meeting and do everything.
That was my next.
Yes,
that
we
was
can-
my question.
We can do the necessary things. They have a table and everything. So that was their request, which honestly, they're willing to come here. That was, they said, well, would y'all like to see the museum? And I knew,
haven't seen the museum.
and I
I didn't even know it was a museum.
Yeah.
and I know when we did the tour, there were a few people that wanted me to stop and I didn't have a key. I think Matt does. I don't think,
Yeah, he didn't know on the tour that I had. I didn't have it with me, but he's like,
Technically, we own the roof, so.
yeah, exactly. So, now I can look up that, but I can't tell you, I mean, we do have the numbers here to do it as long as everyone's on board. So, but I would like to vote on it and do it that way. I'm probably running this a little more formally than we have in the past. I know that used to we bounced all over the place and didn't worry. So, but I just wanted to, in order to move the meeting and everything, we've made a big deal about sticking to our bylaws. And so I wanted to be consistent with that. And so that would be the request, is to have a special meeting or a regular meeting at a special location next month.
Which is part of the park.
I'll make
Yes.
a motion to suspend the bylaws to move the meeting for next month.
I'll second that.
So calmly. Yeah,
I know.
He said, calm. We haven't even done an all
All
in
right,
favor.
and we have a motion and a second. All in favor to move the meeting, suspend the rules and move the meeting? Aye.
Same time though. I only asked that question because my life.
Open at 5 if you want to come.
I can't
early.
make it at 5. Of course, I'm barely getting
Wow.
to 6.
So I will reflect in the minutes too. I'll look that up and see what it is. Well, our numbers are there. We've got
Yeah.
3 out of 4 3/4 anyway, so we're okay. But, and then I will make sure that everyone is reminded of the new location.
Oh, yeah, do that.
Yeah, when you send the agenda,
So for anyone that wants to join from the public next month, we will be at the Bryant Museum, or you can come at 5 o'clock and get a tour. So, yes.
Hey, that thing's gonna be open, I'm finally getting a look in it.
And what type of setup, just curious, what type of setup, we'll be sitting like on benches or something?
No, they have,
Okay.
yeah.
Table.
It will,
You gotta bring your soccer chair or football chair,
Yeah.
whatever you bring.
they've got night, yeah, they do have like a projector screen and stuff in there, so,
So it's by City Hall?
yes, it's the old,
Yeah, it's
it's
a
the
gray building,
Okay.
right there, used to be a fire
Oh.
station, but they painted
Okay.
it solid
You can't
gray.
miss it. Right by the
Okay.
basketball
I know
court.
what you're talking about.
You can't miss it. I just didn't know it was a museum.
I didn't either.
My family
And we
didn't either, I drove them right over there and showed them, and then I said, now, since you went on the tour, you can go play at the park. So, they were like, you took us over here just to show us the building, I was like, I did. Yep, look at the building, I was like, let's go play.
All right,
That was
I
good.
think that's committee comments. Sorry, I
We
almost
just-
skipped that. Anybody?
We just had them.
We just I think we had them throughout the whole meeting, so we don't seem to be too shy.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
We're adjourned.
Good job. Good job.